That went wrong.
Well, that was the wrong one. I mean, hang a second. Let's get this right, shall we? There we go. That's much better. Yes. Hello, welcome to Ones of the Force of Stars podcast. My name's Philip. Of course, I'm joined as usual by George and Dave. Dave with us just a couple of minutes. He says having some technical difficulties, but welcome to our Clone Wars breakdown. Hello, George.
Hello there. Sorry about that. We're trying to test something new, and I've just completely ruined it.
Indeed, unfortunately, clicked on the absolute wrong one. There's only two options there. You had to click the second.
You can't see which one's which though. Like, I wish you could. Anyone needs a stream ad.
It's on the left. The outline's there.
No, because there's an outline on it. If anyone has a stream ad, just email them. Wouldn't it be great if you could have like text on the overlay, like a description, rather than just the show button when you scroll over it? But no, that's completely disrupted me. We're here to talk about Clone Wars, aren't we?
Yes, we are. And here to talk about the Siege of Mandalore Part 2. Last week, of course, we had the cracking opening. And this is the first time we're thinking in quite a while that the three of us have watched something and immediately gone, we need to talk about this immediately. This is just phenomenal. Last week's episode was great. This one just builds on it, in my opinion. There's a lot to talk about. Yeah,
I mean, everyone, I don't know a single person that disliked last week's episode. Nobody has. It's without doubt, I know most people said their favourite episode. Me, it was in the top 2. And the big question was, it felt like a film. We got the Star Wars crawl. We didn't get any music at the end. And one of my things I was really looking forward to, except the episode, was how were they going to sort of get us in to the start of the following episode. And no music. The Clone Wars logo kind of comes in with like an ominous theme in the background. And then we are straight where we left off last week. There's no, let's cut to the other side of the galaxy. You literally press pause for a week and then they press play and it carried on. And that was the best thing they could have done.
Yeah, I mean, when the Clone Wars came back, when it was originally announced, before we had the actual announcement, at SCCC, we had the whole panel and they're like, okay, something's coming. I said, either we'll get a new series or a movie. I may have been right on both fronts, it seems, because yes, last week's episode opened up with that crawl, and of course with the usual Clone Wars introduction afterwards, it really well blended the two together. This week we didn't have any of that, and now we can talk about it with Dave because Dave has rejoined us. Hello, Dave.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. We all right? Sorry about that quick technical glitch literally before we went live. So yes, I'm back on. So hi everyone, hope you're enjoying yourselves and have loved this episode that we're talking about.
Yeah, when we tried the new intro, it went wrong, but it's fine.
Yeah, that's my bad. I kind of pressed play and I realised within a millisecond, oh my word, what have I done? And then I kind of froze for a second, and then had to recompose ourselves. But yeah,
it did. It's fine. But yes, so just talk about the opening of the episode, mate.
Yeah, I mean, this was a lovely introduction. The fact we went straight into the episode where we left it off was a lovely, lovely thing for us to be able to carry straight on. And the first interaction of Maul and Ahsoka, that he kind of put out there that he doesn't know who she is, that he's kind of rumored, it looks like he's heard from her from the troopers, but he doesn't know anything else about it, which is really nice for them to still have this whole episode together where he's learning more and more about her, but at this moment in time, he doesn't know quite how important she is to Anakin.
Yeah, just wanted to put a comment here from Robinson. I've only just realised there is no Tom Kane voiceover. Yeah, it's so seamless. You don't realise, I think, in this particular episode. I think by the time they're done, you will get the option to play as a film. I think that's how it's going to be intended.
The stuff that would have been narrated, we get told. Obviously, we'll get to that scene in a bit, but between the last episode and this episode, there was only one development, and it happened just after the opening scene.
Yeah.
So I don't really miss that. I don't think it needed it. We perfectly was used in episode 1. Jedi are in the right place. So on the outskirts, there's Aayla Secura on her deathbed in Felucia. There's Plo Koon. It's kind of that sort of farewell, cheerio, you're on the planet now. It's time to go. Yeah. But no, the opening scene was great. And I unfortunately had it spoiled that this was going to be the duel. Disney Plus updated their banner to show more than I mean, we know there's a duel coming. But when they updated it this week, I was like, okay, so the big duel's coming on Friday, which we kind of assumed, but it would have been nice. And then they obviously cross lightsabers in that opening scene. And I was there like, surely not now. And then literally Maul's like, not here. And that was a big moment because if you look at Darth Maul, he's a man that gets very angry. He likes to fight. He likes to kill. There's character development. And then there is him in this episode. He is this philosophical sort of, I don't even know how to say. It was almost like a human being like on Earth right now who hates the world crossed over with Yoda, but for the Sith, giving his thoughts on the war and everything. Did not expect that. I thought some of it was great, but yeah, it was really the more than Ahsoka episode. From the opening scenes to everything, this was a almighty episode, and a lot of hype was put on this too, and it did deliver that. I know I'm jumping ahead, sort of giving an overall, but I thought it was really important for this.
Yeah, I mean the overall thoughts as well from me. It was going into this episode, go to last week's episode. There was a lot of pressure. I think the first two arcs solid, but not what we had hoped for. We know that all three of us here enjoyed Ahsoka's arc more than Bad Batch, for sure. The Ahsoka's Walkabout, but this series here, this arc, Siege of Mandalore, there's a lot of pressure from the fans to get this right. Last week's episode, that introduction gave us an inkling of what we were in for. And this particular episode, for me, again, I felt all week, how are they going to top it? But how are they going to continue it? They don't need to try and top it every week, but they need to follow it on every week. They need to continue this level of storytelling and also animation, because the one thing I really noticed in this particular episode is the step up in quality. I mean, I'm jumping ahead here. So when you have that shot of Ahsoka's lightsaber flying through the air right across the screen, you can pause that, and it is just incredible how it looks. I mean, yes, we discussed this over this series. Comparisons between this and even the very first series, there are different chalk and cheese. They are so different. It's come on such a long way. Luckily, the storytelling is still there in terms of it's a very well written, very good show. But that animation has taken another step up. And this particular episode, yes, okay, I didn't have the duels spoiled for me, but I was expecting it this week. I thought, in terms of the storytelling and where we're going, I thought it would be this week, and I was not left disappointed. I woke up this morning, the guys, of course, watched the episode for me, and immediately it was a case of, we need to do this tonight. We need to jump on here and talk about it. And I watched it, I was like, oh, damn.
Whoa.
Apologies, that is my technical errors are plenty as I'm messing around. I do apologize for that. New ending, by the way.
There it goes. Oh, damn. Done. Okay, there it is. That's the end of the episode. No, they already had the ending spoiled them from Dave. Sorry, because George clicked that instead of the introduction.
Cool. That's all right. We'll get there. After a week or two, we'll be absolutely flying with it.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It's fine. But yeah, so for me, lots of train of thought now, but overall, it had a lot of pressure, but I felt it delivered.
Oh, without a single doubt. You couldn't you say last week's episode was such a high point from us. I think it's after two arcs where we're like, yeah, these are okay. To then get that step up to where we are now was just incredible. And I mean, the next sort of scene, if we, from after Darth Maul and Ahsoka clash, we'll go to back to the throne room. Did you guys hear the armorer clanging away in the background the first few seconds?
Yes.
No, I didn't.
As you first enter that throne room, there's a you don't see her. You don't see anybody doing it. I've slow-moed it to kind of have a look. You can't see anything, but you hear the clanging of an armorer in the background, which is just superb.
This is just fun.
That's thrilling me. I've seen it twice, so that's something to go for on the next one. I think I might save my third viewing for just before episode 4. But I'll go through. But the next scene of the throne room, we are talking about the first throne room scene, right? With our beloved Obi-Wan Kenobi. A very, very powerful scene, because I said last week, oh, that's it. Like, Obi-Wan's gone out of this arc. That's him out of Clone Wars. That's sad. Didn't expect him to come back. And here we are. Well, I didn't expect him to come back unless it was the Jedi message. Did not expect him to be hologramming her. And the moment I saw that hood, I know where you are. You're on Utapau.
Yeah.
So, canonically, I'm guessing, I mean, it's for a start, it's daytime. I'm guessing there's a gap of a day or two, maybe. They don't need to explain it to me. Everyone knows where you are. But the key thing of this was Maul mentioning Sidious in the previous scene. Ahsoka mentioning Sidious has never been mentioned more times in Star Wars canon than in this one episode, which was remarkable. Loved it. When I was rewatching Attack of the Clones this week, I did think to myself, very naively, did Count Dooku just tell Obi-Wan about Darth Sidious, and Obi-Wan just never, ever, ever tell a single person? Like, because that's the kind of vibe you have. He's not mentioned across time by Obi-Wan, and I was like, did he just not tell anyone for like 3 years? Like, was he that like naive to think Dooku was lying? And then it was the Jedi Council believe he's, when there was like, this is great. I was like, because that explains the plot hole I've noticed for the first time in 20 years. And more importantly, he's known across the galaxy, but I didn't expect Sidious to be involved. Obviously, we know he's involved, but the knowledge that Maul has on the event, I know he's had a vision. The whole setup of this is all to get Anakin here, not Obi-Wan. Yes, he wants Obi-Wan, but the deep down setup was to get Anakin with him.
Which I didn't see.
Same here. I didn't expect Maul to have as much sort of character in this episode as he did, and that's both comes of writing and progression of him across the years as well, going from man that just wants revenge to man that kind of wants revenge, but to more than one person now. And yeah, the scene of Obi-Wan was great, and we got the Anakin spying. We had Ahsoka getting
that threw me, and not in terms of the fact that it was. I didn't know what was going on, of course, but it's the fact that he openly told her. It's really putting that scene in its place in episode 3, and it just is because he knows the impact it'll have on Ahsoka. It's very interesting to see.
And in that scene, Obi-Wan never asked Anakin. He always said, "I'm not asking you. The Council is."
Council's asking.
And I think Anakin always deep down knew that it wasn't Obi-Wan, and you can tell that Obi-Wan has the shame of telling her as well. And that was a really big moment.
It almost felt like he was looking at Ahsoka as Anakin's sort of last hope. They can almost see him slipping already, and that he'd hoped Ahsoka would be the person who'd then go to him and say, "Look, this is." And if she'd got that message to him, it could have maybe changed his path slightly, or even diverted it away from where it was going, because she was his anchor point, I think, because their connection was so strong. Had she got the message to him, had she spoken to Anakin, I think we might have had a different turnout in episode 3. I think that's the way Obi-Wan was kind of feeling with it. And for her to say, as she was leaving the room, "Tell Anakin," and he goes, "I will." And obviously that at that point, that's never going to happen. And that was a really big move. Like, oh, wow, that message never got through. And I think it could have made such a big difference.
Talking about last week, Ashley Eckstein was saying how this episode impacts the rest of the Skywalker saga. We were sat here wondering how it was going to take place. Really, what did it mean? What did she mean by that? Or maybe it was something coy that she was a throwaway comment just to kind of hype it up a little bit. I did not think it would be this and how this played out, but I am not disappointed in any way, shape, or form. In fact, for me, it just enhances episode 3 that little bit more, because now by the time Obi-Wan gets there, how much he has gone through to try and stop Anakin and to save him. And this is another layer going through Ahsoka. He is going through those options, and he knows that this is it. He's out of options, and it's just another impact that I didn't expect, but I love. I think it's a very, very well told point. It's also very short, but it's in a very nice, concise point. They don't dwell on it too long. They then go on for the rest of the episode, but it's just one that really does impact.
Yeah, it was, as I say, it was so well done, and it kind of, you're right, the episode is very fast. Like, it cuts very quickly to get the story moved to the end battle, and it was a really nice it was a nice pace to watch that as well. I found I wasn't any point where I thought, "Oh, sit back," that you were kind of drawn into it the whole way through. There was no point where you were kind of easing up or what you were seeing, because it was coming at you thick and fast. And it just shows on from where she now, after that, she goes on to see what's his name, the clone,
Jesse,
yes, sorry. And I don't know when we've last seen Jesse. We have seen him before, so I recognize the print on his face, but we have seen him in Clone Wars before.
Jesse. Yes.
The thing that threw me was like, who's Jesse? I was like, when I think of Jesse, I think of Breaking Bad, because that's the only Jesse.
I end up thinking of Pokemon with Jesse and James. No, Jesse has been around since Rookies, I think. Maybe not quite then, but he goes back a long way.
I think it's because to some he's called Jesse, to most it's the guy with the tattoo on his face. Which is this was, I mean, it was in the trailers that Maul was interrogating someone. I loved this scene. Here's the criminal sort of underworld.
Yeah.
Here is Maul talking to his fellow gangsters
in the Shadow Collective. Yeah.
So the great thing Dave noticed, which was a lot clearer on viewing too, was that was Dryden Voss. Now, the first time I saw it, I was like, "Oh look." I was like, "Who's that human guy?" And it was really naive of me not to think it was him, because I always forget that Solo is 10 years after this, not
I'm not gonna lie. The very first second, I was like, that's Hux? What the hell's Hux? Oh no, that's not Hux. That's false. But just for a brief second, I got confused. Like, well, that's confusing.
I think because Rogue One's like 17 years after, Rebels like 16 to 19 years after, and I always forget that Solo is the midpoint. It's not the back end of the gap. It's the slap bang middle.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, look, a young John of us. It's not really young. It's only 10 years ago, and I really liked it. It was a nice little Easter egg. It's a nice tie to Solo, which we don't get enough of. It also showed Maul's plan's been in place a lot longer too.
Yeah, it's also a nice connection to Son of Dathomir, which, if you guys haven't seen the video I released yesterday, which is the latest episode of Star Wars, I highly recommend, because I'm looking at Darth Maul, Son of Dathomir, the 2014 Dark Horse comic that is canon. It's been re-released in 2017 under the Marvel banner, but it's based off of the unfinished scripts for season 6, and it does lead into this episode. In fact, they even talk about it. You have Gar Saxon and Cast. Cast, I think, is actually voiced by Vanessa Marshall, who of course voices Hera, which is kind of cool. So you have referencing them breaking him out of prison, where he was held by Darth Sidious. So that also features the end of Mother Talzin. So it's a really good comic, so I either recommend you go and read that or watch my video as I break it down, because when you had the episode today, when you had that scene come up, so I literally just finished rereading and reiterating that tale. So it's very fresh in my mind. It's kind of cool to see them tie that note in.
Yeah.
I was going to say about that episode, just that moment as well. I love that he did the mind pull of the information from him, like Kylo Ren did on Poe, like the same maneuver. I loved seeing Darth Maul doing that.
It was great, because you had a tease like, oh, we wonder why he's going to his brain, and I assumed it'd be, oh, he's going to find out about Order 66 via brain thing. Actually, he was just learning about Ahsoka. He had no intention of knowing the other stuff. His plan was in place, but the mind trick was amazing. It was great to see that again. It comes full circle. But the Son of Dathomir stuff was also a great nod, because I read that recently. Obviously, one of the questions I said to you guys weeks ago before this was, is the Emperor going to be involved with Maul? Because the last time we saw Emperor in Clone Wars with Maul was him being dragged away. Now, obviously, we know about Son of Dathomir now. Well, I do. If those haven't checked the video or read the comic. Now, general audience who need to know, because, oh, look, why is Maul there and now there? It's, even if it's a throwaway line like that was, it explains it. And sometimes one throwaway line is all you need to explain a tiny plot story, not necessarily becoming a clone and transporting 20 years in the future, but that's not for me to talk about now, is it? It was a great scene. There's not a single wasted scene in this episode. I think that's a big thing. We speak about filler across Clone Wars, across Rebels, great episodes that can have bizarre moments. Again, back to back, not one single wasted second of screen time.
I must admit, I do wonder if this was originally a movie and they cut it down. They literally just split it in points.
I think it was always going to be, it will be a longer arc, but we'll put more money into it. And I reckon they probably knew, oh, Disney's doing a streaming service, this will look good as a headliner on it. Which it is. Unfortunately, the UK Disney Plus homepage says Mandalorian Chapter 7 now streaming, not Clone Wars Chapter 10, because obviously UK is behind somehow. But everywhere else in the world has got Clone Wars at number 1, so I don't think it would ever had intention for cinematic reasons. Maybe if it had been George Lucas 7 years ago, that would have been a cinematic release. But obviously, we don't know how it would have ended. I feel this is very much the Lucas story, but I think this is definitely Filoni's sort of firm grip on this is how it's going to go. It needs to be like this. And then pretty much after the Maul scene, we're thrown into the finale.
We start with like the assassination of Prime Minister Almanac. First, those two shots that ring out from Gar Saxon right into his the top of his chest, taking him out. Just as he mentions to Ahsoka as well that it's not just Kenobi was after. Maul has been plagued by Skywalker. And it just adds to what's coming in, what he tells Ahsoka in the final scenes, really.
Oh, definitely. I like that because I love the fact, they're just going to kill off the Prime Minister. It's the very typical villain. We've kind of used our puppet, get rid of him. And it was a great prison scene. You knew it was coming, but it was still a good moment. You had a really cool Mandalorian fight on the elevator with Bo-Katan and Saxon. Now, I'm going to ask one of you guys to help me. Did Bo-Katan and Saxon have a fight in Rebels?
No.
Obviously, I know that Sabine and
Saxon had the big battle on the ice, but no, Bo-Katan didn't know.
because I love the fact that Saxon obviously does pop up in Rebels. So when I do get to revisit that soon, it's going to be nice getting this character. I've seen him just do that. And I'm jumping way ahead. Also, being left for dead by Maul makes it very interesting to see what they're going to do with him. But we'll find out in a few episodes' time. But I thought that the elevator fight was great, and it made me laugh. I don't think it was intended as comedy. She stops the elevator, she has all this drama, and then just like two clones just pop out from above. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it didn't need to be anything. It was just like, oh, it's like normally in a film that the elevator comes down, but it never shows. Like, oh look, there's two clones in there the entire time.
It does slightly mirror, although it's set later, obviously, the elevator scene in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, that sort of feel over it, yeah. And it was just nice that it led us. I mean, we're kind of skipping around because obviously outside of the main doors, there's a massive ground battle going on. But to be totally honest, it's not where your focus is. It's kind of shown to you and kind of like, this is what's going on outside the windows. And it's used more of as a thing in the final scene to get Bo-Katan out of the room and Rex.
It's more of a set piece is what it is.
Yeah.
It's very much, but also it's not used as it's used as a set piece, but not as a distraction. It's a very nice little piece. It sets up what happens later, of course, with the ATTE, and it's a piece. But also, I do wonder if that battle, if they continue into the next episode, that's where you'll get Order 66 happen.
I will speculate on where I think Order 66 is right at the end. Because that battle was interesting, because it kind of looked like it was done when we get into the episode. But before we fully go in, can we talk about Maul's conversation? First, even before Maul's conversation, the moment the doors open, how Empire Strikes Back was that? Of him sitting there, someone running, shooting, swerving the bullets, force choke. He could have killed her. He had no intention of doing it. He knew what he wanted. He didn't even want to fight Ahsoka. He just wanted to talk to her, to tell her,
I also thought it, as well as mirroring Empire, also thought it mirrored Phantom Menace. That very much opening door scene where you have Maul, when you're very introduced to him with a double-ended lightsaber between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon as well. That kind of, it's a lot of little mirrors here and there that are just spectacular.
Yeah, it was just an amazing start to the scene. It was him sitting there so casually with his leg up on the chair as well, just kind of totally chilled out, waiting for them. Not hiding, not running. Like they've been saying, oh, it's this coward running off and doing this, but he's not. He's been so calculated with this plan, and it's played out for a long time that he knows when they walk in the room, he doesn't get up, he doesn't get stirred. Casually lets Jesse go. Like, there's your clone back. I don't want him. I don't want to kill him. Off you go to carry on with your brothers. It was just an excellent sort of. Maul was so good in this episode, and once he got rid of Rex and Bo-Katan just by getting them to leave the room to fight the battle, the offering of a hand again in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Very
much better done this time around.
I don't know, man. The Last Jedi one was great, but this was something different. This was Maul knows he needs it to help him, but the big thing was Ahsoka agreed. That's the thing. Ahsoka knows there's something going on here. You can help us. And ultimately, I know Rebels is very different, but we know that Maul kind of knows it's all worthless, it's all for nothing, everything's pointless. And this vision that's plagued him, even he knows, I would rather help you and take out. And you just have this brilliant, perfect, heartbreaking moment. What did you want with Skywalker?
Yeah.
This episode is called The Phantom Apprentice.
Yep.
Now,
it's not about Ahsoka.
It's not about Ahsoka.
No.
It's not about Maul, who isn't ever the Phantom Menace anyway, albeit a reference to the film. The Phantom Apprentice is none other than Anakin Skywalker, who is the most important character in this episode without actually appearing in it.
Because it's why sorry, go on.
I would say I didn't see it coming. I don't think anyone probably saw it coming.
No, but it really is why when Ashley Eckstein said this has implications for the entire Skywalker saga, we sat here going, I don't see that's how it's going to happen. This is how it happens in such a subtle yet powerful way.
It was the whole line about he's being groomed the whole way through, just like it's always what was going to happen. It was just it's so sadistic of the Emperor that he's actually done this. That Sidious has literally set about this boy and Grundle knows exactly what he needs him to be at this moment in time. And Maul is fully aware of the plan that's in motion for him. That once he knew about Skywalker and he had this vision of him, he knows exactly what's like. I don't know if he knows exactly what's going to be covering, but he knows where the Emperor wants him to be. And it was absolutely chilling.
It was.
I didn't expect it from Maul. It felt not even like sassy, but it was the, we can help the Jedi Council, and he's just kind of there, like in English, saying, "Are you stupid? Like
it's already over."
Yeah, it's done. Like he's moved on. Maul is right. Like I know that there are, Thanos is right, and people say all these things like all these villains. The villains are right, but with the villains, it's always a lot of them are right. It's the way they go about being right, which makes them the villain.
Yeah.
In this, Maul is bang on. Like, obviously, we've got the hindsight of the fact this is a prequel to prequels. We know where this is going, but it's just that moment of Ahsoka. It's like, what did you say? Your vision is flawed.
Yeah.
Of course. And that's when you're like, it's about to go down, and she couldn't be more wrong. And that moment made me think of Rebels, the revelation. Now, I've only ever seen all of Rebels once, and I've planned on revisiting it after this is done. I cannot wait to get to the start of season 2 now to see, because surely that's going to haunt her for the next 20 years was that Maul was right. That's going to be her thing for 20 years. Maul was right. She's got to live with that. And I'm very intrigued to see how that plays out. But I haven't even got to the duel yet. But then this is the duel. This begins Ray Park in motion capture.
Yep.
And before I even get to the Ray Park stuff, the thing I saw via Twitter, which on my second viewing I found, the Emperor Palpatine screech is played at the moment he darts forward a jeweler, which concurrently puts it's there to say right now on Coruscant he's just screeched and is dueling. So this is where we are with Revenge of the Sith now. We are here. The Clone Wars is done. Obi-Wan's killed Grievous. The Jedi are about to do Palpatine over. Well, almost do him over. And I felt there's a moment before this too where Ahsoka senses Anakin. Now, it's not as obvious as the scream, but obviously at that point, Anakin's in the ruminations scene. He's at the top of the Jedi Council. So I feel there's connections here, there, everywhere. But the fight itself, now, it's not Duel of the Fates. It's not designed to be not a dance. People say Duel of the Fates is a dance. I don't like that. But this was two people motion capturing a duel. Darth Maul is 10 years older. Ray Park is 20 years older. This is a compliment before anything, so I don't mean it all wrong, but you can tell it's Ray Park. The movement of the legs, the animation, it feels real. It doesn't feel animated because it's motion capture, which gives it another level. Like, yes, you can look at the Maul duel, right, with Savage Press and Darth Sidious.
Yeah.
Anytime someone duels in Clone Wars, the lightsabers go like zup, zup, like it's always so parallel to each other, like the movement, the sabers, everything. And this was it just flowed. There was no sudden jumps. It was just a flowing duel. And I was like, this is amazing. And there was some stuff done which you had some proper skill. I don't really know how to give a commentary on a lightsaber duel, but anyone else wants to talk about it?
I mean, for me, as I talked to you before we came on air, I talked about the quality in this duel. There's a moment where you have Ahsoka's lightsaber comes flying through the air, and it just stops, and it just has this. I'm trying not to spoil. I'm trying to be very passionate at the same time because it's very difficult. It was just incredible. Yeah. So I was commenting there saying these leg kicks are just amazing. That is very, very Park. Down to a T. That is very, very Park. The fight itself felt very, very Episode 1 in a way. But I'm playing that as a compliment to Ray Park in the way he did the mocap. I don't think the problem is when we have the animation, it allows us to tell stories that you can't tell or wouldn't be able to tell necessarily through live action or whatever the ability or money to do. This is one of those points of now having seen it done with the mocap, I don't ever want to see it done another way again. It was just perfect.
It worked so well for this. And you're right, it stood out as Ray Park immediately. It was the leg lifts, you're right, it's absolutely the movement, the lower half that I spotted more than almost the lightsaber movements, the way he moved his legs, like, yeah, that's absolutely Ray Park's movement in that. And it offered so much weight to it and like a level of realism that you're right, don't get from some of the animated lightsaber battles sometimes. And I just thought it was so well executed. And it was just beyond cinematic. The break of the window, George and I were saying just literally before we came on, that felt very reminiscent of the window break in Palpatine's office in Episode 3.
Very much.
The
Very
atmosphere around them, the broken glass, the smoke was incredible. And then for them just to go through this battle over, they're both kind of battling over Anakin Skywalker, and almost like that's what the battle is about. It's not about them battling each other. It's for Anakin's future, I think, is more certainly in the minds of both of them from where they sit. Is my own opinion. And anyway, that's how I feel. Maul wants to go one way, and the Circle wants to him to be so wrong, and it's that battle over the soul of Anakin Skywalker. And unfortunately, it doesn't go the way Ahsoka would want to. But the battle itself.
The thing is, though, with episode 3 is the battle of Anakin Skywalker. This not only mirrors it, it runs parallel to it, and this is another part of that battle for him. He doesn't want any of this at the end of the day. He always wants what's best for him, best for Padme. He can't let go of his attachments. We all know his flaws, but at the same time, this episode 3 and this were a battle for him and his future and his power. Ben Solo later on has that mirrored for him because both the light and the dark claimed him for their own. He didn't want that. It's one of the reasons why he turned to the dark side eventually, is when he wanted to be himself, and he felt at that point most himself as a rebellious person turning towards the dark side. By the end of it, he finally finds out who he is. He still doesn't think himself as Ben. He prefers the name Kylo, but he's still himself. This is a fight over Anakin's soul, his future, the future of the galaxy, and Anakin doesn't even realize it. He doesn't know every single piece at play. The only piece he knows is that very well-groomed part of Chancellor Palpatine, and it's just phenomenal. And these notes here and there, as we've been talking about, are perfect drop points to episode 3, but also to that battle for Anakin. And it's one of those things of when Ahsoka loses her lightsabers, it's a very much that thing with Obi-Wan when he loses his lightsaber on Utapau, and that's when Order 66 kicks in. And I wonder what's happening next.
I mean, if we're going up to the skylight thing, I want to first give more credit for the amazing ending to Saxon, or the was it Die Well Mandalorian?
Yes, Maul said he plans on escaping, so yeah, Die Well Mandalorian, and that's it. He's done with them.
I absolutely love that because he G'd them all up before, like, you will all die an honorary death for Mandalore, and they're all buzzing. It's like, die well, like that was never his end game. I think Maul's entire plan was just to get Ahsoka and the two of them leave anyway. Leave and go get Sidious. But this duel, again, felt like humans when they were stumbling, when they were balancing. Didn't feel like an animation, because animation, they just took their legs in. This felt real, and it was real. I can't wait for the behind the scenes on this. But the final moment when she grabbed his lightsaber, and for a start, the Force hold in midair, and he's like, just let me die. Like, let me die. And it's very Maul. When it gets to Rebels, he wants Obi-Wan to kill him. Spoiler alert. Like, he accepts it. It's all he's got left. And then you get this moment here where, especially when the clone gunships turn up, he's like, what's he like? You fools! Like, we're all gonna die and stuff. And he knows exactly what's about to happen.
We're all gonna burn. We're all gonna die. It's like, oh my word!
And like Ahsoka's sat like, this guy's a nutcase. But then we have the final shots. To me, the beginning of the next episode, 2 gunships leave. One of them stays still in the corner of the screen, fades to black. Credit Mr. Lucas. To me, Order 66 is the opening scene. That gunship is going for Ahsoka. I don't think it's got her lightsabers. I think this is going to be an incredible moment. If it doesn't happen, that's me wrong, but to put a cliffhanger, to intentionally leave that gunship hovering, there's more to it than that. There's definitely more to it.
I think you're absolutely right. I think Order 66 will be in the first couple of minutes of the next episode, and it'll be the result of that Ahsoka will have to be escaping from for the majority of that episode, and then we'll get the wrap-up in episode 4. But it's going to be quite a moment. I don't think we'll see the Jedi getting destroyed as they did in episode 3. Like, we've already had that hinted at in the preview from the last episode. I definitely think we'll get a full-on Ian McDiarmid Palpatine hologram saying execute Order 66. I think we'll see that beautifully rendered, and then we'll see what Ahsoka's gonna do. And I can't wait.
I think she's gonna sense it, as in not when they turn out. I think she's gonna sense them all dying, not necessarily the clone,
just like Yoda.
Yeah, exactly that, and it's gonna be brutal. And then obviously, not that we don't tend to overly sort of speculate. I'm assuming, well, we know Maul's going to escape. They're going to team up with each other. We don't know. I somehow doubt it, but stuff is going to go down in the next episode. We're a week away. But the one thing we're forgetting, guys, we're 10 days away from the finale. That's the other thing. 1 week to one episode, 3 days for the one after. So that is going to be very, very interesting. But what are your guys' thoughts on that final shot? Because I definitely saw Order 66, nothing else.
No, you're right. Absolutely. When it left me, that was all I was waiting for. If it'd gone on a few more seconds, I believe that's what you would have got. That's for me is the very next thing we see. And I can't wait to see that actioned on Mandalore. To see even like the turn of the clones, because obviously they're fighting the Mandalorians, but does that then instantly change their focus as soon as that's done? Those battling, does that then just go, this battle stops because we're no longer focusing on this anymore? I'm really intrigued to see how it plays out throughout the troopers that are on the ground as well. If they're instantly like, right, go find the Jedi, and that becomes their sole focus.
I'm not sure it is.
If you think about it, Saxon, right, is took prisoner. He is eventually going to lead these clones. In theory, clones become stormtroopers, Saxon becomes Empire. Yeah. Something could happen. I'm not going to speculate, but we've got Rex. Who was Rex in that first gunship with Maul? I couldn't really. You know, in the armor, sometimes it's sensitive. That's Rex. Obviously, Rex is going to have a moment because he makes out he doesn't have the chip, right? So
Rex still has his chip.
He does.
This thing. So in Rebels, he says he doesn't have it.
No, he says some removed them. We all had a choice. He doesn't specify when.
So I reckon he's removed it by now. Because I was wondering if there'd be this big moment where they get it. Because obviously what happens in Season 6, when they get the arc about the chip in the head. If he's saying there's a choice, I'm just very curious to see what his choice is, or if he's already not got it. It will be an amazing moment if he's already got it removed and we're not told that, and he just sees all his clones starting to shoot Ahsoka. Well, try to. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That could be a very big moment.
I must admit, I do wonder if the opening will be him having the hologram, going Commander X times come execute Order 66.
I think he's going to be. I don't think it will be him with the hologram. He's commander now, right?
Yes.
I don't know. I can't see it. I'm very curious because it's going to be a very big moment and it's going to happen very early on. But I think because episode 2 started essentially the same shot as episode 1, it finished with Maul, who are you, cut Ahsoka facing him. I think we're going to have the exact same thing. I think we're going to start the moment her in the sky with the gunship. I'm very excited to find out what happens.
So a little comment here again from Robin saying, see if he has the scar. I must admit, I've only watched the episode once today purely because I've had other things on. This is what I'm planning on doing afterwards, going back and watching episode 1 and 2. And I will look for the scar, but...
I honestly don't think Rex has, at this point, removed it unless
I don't think so.
He's been made aware of what happened to Fives. And at that point, he made an effort, and we haven't really seen it. I definitely don't think it's shown you, and it might be them keeping it for the next episode. That when Order 66 kicks off, he's the only one who's not affected, and then we'll be shown the scar that he already has it. I think that might be an interesting play, but I can't wait to see how it goes down. I really can't.
No, I'm so excited. I don't really have anything else to say.
Yeah, no, I haven't got anything else to say. I must admit either on this particular episode. I think we said as much as we can without waffling, because there's a lot of points to be made. We could go on and on and on, but really, this, if anything, not only did it not disappoint, I thought it brought it to another level again. I can't wait for next week. I don't think it's going to disappoint at all.
This was the first hour of a 2-hour movie you were watching. My word.
I'm very excited. So I'm going to watch episode 3, and then I'll watch 3 back to back, and then I will do 1 to 3, bang on. These come out 8 a.m. in the UK. I've got the day off when the finale comes out. I might set an alarm for 6:30 and just do 1, 2, and 3, refresh Disney Plus at 8 and just do it.
Yeah.
Because there is a film in there. Or do I do episode 4 and then later on in the day 1 through?
Oh no, I'm doing the same as you. I'm doing 6:30 alarm, 1, 2, 3, and then watch 4.
It's going to be big. I can't wait.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Can we say safely? I think we'll be back here next Friday to talk about the next episode.
There's a chance we might be. Yeah, as I thought.
Yeah,
This is the bit where they just don't show Order 66. And we're like, what? What just happened?
Yeah, we just come back and go, it's rubbish. Not doing another one, and we walk out.
You were wrong. No, I think it'll be good. And I think we'll do that next week. But until then, I don't think if there's anything else left to say, guys. All good.
All good.
Yeah.
So, as per usual, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at One's the Force of Star Wars Podcast, at the Force Podcast. You can find the video for this later on our Facebook and YouTube pages. And of course, the audio version will be on our Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, and iTunes. So until next time, we've been One's the Force. May the Force always be with you. Good night.